January 8th, 2015 was an important day. For months, I had been saving up, raising money so I could finally join the next generation of consoles. But now, I had to make a choice. Should I go with what I know and buy a PS4? Or should I give in to the peer pressure and finally jump on the Xbox bandwagon? It was a hard choice, one I thought I'd never be able to make. At least, until I remembered one crucial thing. Insomniac had released a new IP. I had grown up playing games like Spyro the Dragon, Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter. Oh, wait a second. That one's made by Naughty Dog. Anyway, you get the point. I love Insomniac. The trailers for this new game were looking incredible, and they were funny. There was no way I'd be missing out on a franchise from one of my favorite developers. Little did I know, Microsoft would soon snatch that dream away from me. I'll get to that later. But for now, let me just tell you what makes this game so incredible. Sunset Overdrive is a post-apocalyptic open-world action shooter in which you fight off hordes of zombies. Admittedly, on the surface, it does sound a bit cliche, but for everything this game lacks in story originality, it makes up for in spades with engaging gameplay. I mean, sure, we've seen dozens of irreverent stories that break the fourth wall to explain away nonsense.
How do we communicate with Sam when neither of us is holding a phone?
Technology.
But Sunset Overdrive sets itself apart from other games by turning its post-apocalyptic setting into a skate park shooting range with only one rule: never stop moving. Remember that game, The Floor is Lava, that we used to play as kids? I think they eventually turned it into a Netflix series. Insomniac turned that into a video game, except instead of lava, the floor is a sea of monsters that can kill you in just a few hits. Most of the enemies in this game are actually pretty easy to kill, but on the ground, your movement is painfully slow. That means playing this game like a standard shooter where you hide behind cover and take smart angles is guaranteed to get you killed. Instead, you have to be constantly on the move, bouncing, wall running, or my favorite, grinding your way through waves of enemies. And it doesn't stop there. As you progress through the base game and DLC, you unlock even more traversal options. You gain an air glide to extend your jump range, a super bounce, a water slide, and even a dolphin jump, which transforms the water from an obstacle to another way for you to get around. Insomniac created a movement system with limitless potential for creative navigation. And as a bonus, they created a system that rewards you for using the movement creatively. Much like the skating games that inspired it, Sunset Overdrive contains a trick meter that grows as you chain movement abilities together. The meter also increases with kills, and as you build meter, you unlock special abilities like lightning that randomly strikes enemies or the ability to throw fireballs. If you stop moving, or if you repeat the same interaction, you'll start losing meter, so there is incentive to get at least decent at the movement. The best part of the system though is that it's always active. So as you travel from point A to point B, you can challenge yourself to make the trip without ever touching the ground. And all the meter you build on the way can be used in your next mission. One of the biggest challenges for every open world game is keeping the player from getting bored as they travel between points of interest. Most games will place some kind of interruption along the way. Enemy outposts, short rescue missions, collectibles, you know the drill. But these activities can only go so far before the player starts passing over them or just resorting to fast travel. Sunset Overdrive bypasses the issue of boredom by turning the very act of traveling into a game.
It's just the way you move, the things you do.
Sure, it has collectibles and damsels in distress, but all of these things can be done while on the move, and some even challenge you to explore new movement combinations. I can literally count on one hand the number of times I used fast travel in this game, and that's because getting around is just that much fun. I love chaining the movement abilities together and seeing how fast I can fill up my meter, or even trying to see how many enemies I can kill before touching the ground. And speaking of enemies, you've probably noticed me fighting more than just zombies in the background. Sunset Overdrive has three main enemy factions: the OD, which are the zombies, the human enemies called scabs, and these robots that work for Fisco. The OD are the squishiest of the enemy factions, but since they're the most prevalent enemies in the game, they also have the most variety. Most of these enemies will focus on getting close to you to deal damage, so fighting them is about constantly being on the move. The scabs are also pretty squishy, but instead of rushing you, most of these enemies will focus on hitting you hard from a distance with guns, rockets, and bombs. They also tend to spread out a bit more than the OD. Battling scabs is about closing the gap and learning how to prioritize individual targets. Fisco robots are the toughest enemy faction. They have long and close range units, but what makes them challenging is their durability. They aren't weak to fire like the other factions, and even the weak Physico bots take a lot of damage to kill. Fighting Physico bots will force you to learn enemy weaknesses and take advantage of bonus abilities like the Lightning Strike. Each faction gains new and more challenging units throughout the game, so they never become irrelevant. And when you're not in a mission, all three factions can pop up in the street, which makes for utter chaos as all sides fight to be the last one standing. The boss fights in Sunset Overdrive give players a chance to put all of their skills to the test. Take this boss for instance. The devs could have made this a run and gun mission where you just shoot the flying enemy until it goes down, but instead it's a mobility challenge. Up until this fight, you've been going back and forth through this same area and learning your way around. Now you need to use that knowledge to keep up with this dragon while you shoot off its spikes, and then grind down its back to deal damage. The fight is pretty simple once you get the hang of it, but to me, this is way more interesting than just holding down a trigger until a bullet sponge dies. And there are other boss fights just as interesting as this one all throughout the game. And I haven't even mentioned all the cool weapons you get to use. There's a bazooka that shoots teddy bears, a machine gun that shoots fireworks, and a fire-spewing shotgun shaped like well, you get the point. Sunset Overdrive is a game that oozes creativity in its design. It's a thrill ride the whole way through. And I'm not the only one who felt that way. Over time, Sunset Overdrive has received favorable review scores from reviewers and players alike, boasting a 9 out of 10 from IGN and Steam, and sitting on a solid 81% on Metacritic with a 7.8 user score. These numbers may not make the game a masterpiece, but by all accounts, it is a good game. Arguably, a very good game. So then, how did such a good game go from this to this? Well, upon further research, I've discovered that there is a whole host of reasons that Insomniac has prioritized other projects despite having the rights to the Sunset Overdrive IP. And I could sit here and pass on the made-for-media answers that Insomniac have provided over the years, but I have a simpler answer. One that some people won't want to hear, but you know in your heart it's the truth. The reason Sunset Overdrive doesn't have a sequel yet is because of you. See, I know something about you. I know that you've been watching this video, enjoying the gameplay footage, getting lost in the beautiful color scheme, all the while hiding a heinous, despicable secret. You have never played Sunset Overdrive. That's right, you're the problem. And you might be wondering, how does he know? Can he read my mind? Yes I can, but I can also read sales charts, and I know that Sunset Overdrive only sold around 1.2 million copies, which means there's a 99.985% chance that you have never played this game. Somehow, despite its quality, Sunset Overdrive became a cult classic when it should have become a mainstream hit. It's honestly a tragedy, but there's good news. The devs have not given up on Sunset Overdrive, and I haven't given up on you. Now is the time to stand up and fight for a worthy game. Go forth to Steam and to Microsoft and to Game Pass. Increase sales figures, crank up concurrent player counts, and make Sunset Overdrive relevant again. Or share this video with a friend and make them do it. Or do neither of those things. I just wanted to rant about a game I like. But what about you? Do you love Sunset Overdrive or are you wrong? Let me know in the comments below. Also, remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.